did not readily wrong a wife who held so much family capital. 3 years' wages normally in gold or silver, and sometimes in livestock or something similar. Fourth, the clear implications of biblical law and practice was that faith and character took priority also over sex on occasion. In Joshua 15:16 through 19 and Judges 1:12 through 15, we see that Caleb not only made his daughter Achsah his main heir, but he also granted her even more when she requested it. Caleb obviously saw more strength of faith and character in his daughter than in any male in his family. Very clearly, therefore, the position of a daughter was a strong one. Because the family is God's basic institution on earth, the woman is given particular protection. The patriarchal character of the biblical family was only possible because of the moral requirements imposed on men and the protection and security given to godly women. The term dowry survived in American law as, and I quote from a lawyer, the right of a widow in respect of the property of her deceased husband. This legal authority went on to say, but though the law contemplated that the property of a dead husband and father should go to his sons or to his daughter or brethren or kinsmen, it may not be supposed that his widow was to be neglected or sent away empty. To the contrary, it seems that she always had a right of dower. The property was chargeable for her sustenance and the rearing and education of the young children, if there were any, and that she was entitled to a house in which to live, even under ancient Babylonian law long before the time of Abraham. A wife was entitled to receive her dowry and either a gift from her husband or the portion of a son, and also to dwell in the house of her husband as long as she lived. Dower has likewise been an institution of the English law since early Anglo-Saxon times, and of American as well. Indeed, it has been said of this right that it is as widespread as the Christian religion and enters into the contract of marriage among all Christians. End of quote. This was written before the end of World War II. It no longer applies. The law since then certainly has not been improved. In early America, the absence of a property tax made a woman's status very secure. Now the widow faces internal revenue taxes, state taxes, death taxes, and more. Then fifth, it is especially important to note in verse 5 that Moses looked to God for a revelation and received it. The matter of inheritance was too important for Moses to act on inferences or personal opinions. The central institution of God, the family, was at stake. The family and its future could be entrusted to a woman, a daughter. I have heard of instances prior to World War I where such situations meant that the daughter, on marrying, bore her father's name, or in many instances, especially if her husband came from a good family, the two surnames were both used and hyphenated, especially in Europe and England. For example, if her name were Smith and his Williams, the family name became then Smith-Williams. For other reasons as well, this practice is still common in England. the idea was that neither family line was allowed to die out. 6, the daughters did not make undue claims about their father. When Zelophehad's daughters came, they said he had not joined Korah and other leaders in their hostility to the Lord and Moses, but died in his own sin. This apparently had reference to Zelophehad's support of the false spies. His whole generation, except for Caleb and Joshua, were against what God wanted. There could be disinheritance for some sins, such as blasphemy. Centuries later, Jezebel used such a fraudulent charge to seize Naboth's vineyard and disinherit his line, in return for which God disinherited Ahab's line and wiped them out. Nebuchadnezzar, on seeing God's vindication of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, insisted in Daniel 3:29 on an order decreeing the end of any family that blasphemed against the God of the Hebrews. That family had to be eliminated. He was so impressed by the miracle. Then 7th, by confirming the daughters in their inheritance, God made clear he was concerned with families, not merely the heads of families. In verse 11, it is plainly said that this decision is henceforth a part of God's law. Then 8, nothing in this law of inheritance sets aside a woman's dowry rights. This is an important fact. Feminism attacks the Bible because it makes clear man's headship in the family, but it refuses to acknowledge the protection given to women. Here an heiress receives title to her father's estate, or by implication, the double portion as against a foolish son. And she receives also a dowry from her husband, and is thus further enriched and protected. Then 9th, it is the father's name which is perpetuated, although the woman or women became heir to the estate. The amount of wealth accumulating to the wife can be used to erase the fact that the family name is derived from the man. No amount of wealth could wipe out that fact. The family name went in terms of the father. And though the girl inherited, she then perpetuated the father's name. Then 10th, what was at stake was a title to a portion of the land. They were soon going to enter Canaan. They were going to divide up the land. The Bible is a land-based book. It sees the family and land as basic to godly order. Davies, University of California scholar, after a study of the Bible from cover to cover, concluded it is a land-based book. The purpose is that the whole earth be the Lord's and belong to the people of God. The modern state works against God by legislating against the family and its land by taxes and controls. Then, 11th, in verses 9 through 11, an order of inheritance is laid down. First, sons and their descendants. Second, daughters and their descendants. Third, the brothers of the family. And fourth, the kinsman next in line in the father's family. As in the laws of the levirate, the name of the deceased man was assumed by whoever became the heir, whoever was the godly one, whether a son or daughter, or a relative. Then 12th, Calvin called attention to the fact that the daughters of Zelophehad pleaded for their own private advantage, but this by no means made their pleading wrong. It is an error to assume that private advantage means public wrong.